I started talking and I wasn't even recording, so this made quite a nice pop. You remember that game we used to play? Will it pop or will it not? Well, it did. And I have nothing to show for it because I wasn't recording. And this camera even has a tally light, which was the fact that it was off, was or should have been a dead giveaway. But hey, it is what it is. Welcome to 1,000 Words. My name is Radu. I'm a street photographer from Romania. And today I want to talk to you about shooting wide open all the time. This video is in response to Marta Betts from the discuss.pixels.us forum, a place I like to hang out in, I guess. And it was in response to my recent video where I talked about why I shoot manual focus exclusively in street photography, and I mentioned I also shoot wide open basically all the damn time, like 95% of the time. So I was asked about the why and the how, because Marta apparently does what basically all sane people do, and I guess should, is F8 and be there and zone focus, but he complained that oftentimes his backgrounds are distracting and kind of taking away from the image. And I totally understand. So here I am making a video about why I shoot wide open all the time. Ever since I started shooting vintage lenses, which was about 2017-ish, I think, I had a Chinon, a 50mm f1.8 on my Sony a6000, and it was a lovely experience. I was instantly enamored with the bokeh and the background blur. I instantly became a bokeh whore, a dirty old slut. Yeah, there, I said it. I love bokeh, and it should come as no surprise because while nowadays it's quite popular, what should come as a bit of a surprise for some of you is the fact that back in the day, bokeh was considered a flaw. And let's just get it out of the way real quick. Bokeh, actually correctly pronounced bokeh, I think, comes from Japan, and it is to mean the quality of the background blur. It's something that's quite popular now, and it used to be seen as a defect, as a flaw. Most people wanted good sharpness, nice and deep depth of field, so it's quite funny how things change, and what was once a flaw is now considered a quality. But that aside, going back to my experience with first shooting vintage lenses, I was really set aback by how beautiful background blur can be, and it sure can be. And one of the two main reasons why I shoot wide open basically all the damn time is that I love how it looks. I love the blurry background, the smooth, buttery, blurry backgrounds. I love them. And I love them for several reasons. First of all, quite subjectively, it's just something I like for the mere quality of it. Moreover, I like it because I think it suits the look I'm going for. For the very short period that I used modern, contemporary Fuji lenses, while very convenient in the way that it allowed you to autofocus, I was very dissatisfied with how they looked. Initially, I had the 23 f2, then the 35 f2, and they were the 35 less so, but the 23 is really damn flat, is really damn sharp, almost looks like a phone picture, and I really don't appreciate that look. The kind of street photography I try to do, the way I see the images in my head is not something that suits that correct, really precise, really clean, modern look. I like the blur, I like the glowing qualities of an image shot wide open, especially the halation, especially the highlight glow. I like that oftentimes a lens shot wide open is really soft in the corners and in the edges, and I think that adds a lot of character to my images. Mostly I have my subject somewhere around the center, not dead center, but I rarely, if ever, have my main subject right in the very far corners or edges of the image. So I don't necessarily care all that much that the edges can be soft. Quite the contrary, I find that they serve another purpose. Now, almost all lenses are sharp at f8. Not all lenses, though, are sharp at wide open. But however, most of them are decently, sufficiently sharp in the center, because if I'm quite good at manual focusing, and I think I am, if I'm quite good at post-processing, and I think I am, if I'm quite good at judging if a scene is worth photographing or not, I'm less good at composition. It's where I have the most, yet still to learn. So using lenses wide open helps quite a lot, to establish a very good figure-to-ground ratio and guide my viewer's eyes and attention to the subject and isolate the subject from the background and eliminate busyness of a very distracting f8 background. I want to very briefly go back to my first point. The way I try to portray my images is to give them a classic, timeless look. Now, cars really don't help with that, and I hate cars. I mean, I own a car and I find it necessary, but in a strictly utilitarian kind of way. Other than that, especially in my images, I think they ruin a lot of them, and I don't take a lot of images that would have otherwise been good just because the background is full of cars. That's just par for the course, I guess, living in the city, so yeah. But shooting wide open alleviates some of that because it melts everything in the background in a nice, blurry, controlled, pleasant mess, so it doesn't distract as much. Also, a lot of my shots, shot wide open and black and white, and with added grain, because I do always add grain in post-production, said shots could have easily been taken decades ago, and I like this quality. And living in Romania certainly helps because people here dress in a certain kind of way. We have this centuries-old architecture that certainly also helps, and it kind of helps me in showing the world in a way that has a timeless quality to it, a very classic look, a very vintage look. Yeah, I went there and said it. I should also mention that although this may sound like kind of my religion, shooting wide open all the time, I don't necessarily always do it no matter what. I remember a religious procession I shot. I was photographing a large crowd of people, and they were stretching from, let's say, over here, about 10 meters away, all the way back in a valley. They were rising up a hill, and it was quite a long line of people. So I definitely needed a really deep depth of field. A shallow depth of field wouldn't have cut it. So I stopped down to, I think it was f11 or even f16 or something like that. And that's just to say that I'm really not stuck in this blindly. I don't set it and forget it. I use it deliberately because I like it, because it helps with my composition, because it makes my images look a certain way, but when the situation calls for it, I will stop down. On the other hand, I want to talk a little about the how, because I understand that some people may find it quite intimidating and very scary to shoot wide open all the time. I've seen this in comments from people on social media, and I certainly can understand. I am pretty good now with getting decent, good, sometimes great focus wide open in street photography, but this wasn't always the case. And like with everything, the more you practice something, the better you become at it. There are, however, a few tips I have. First up, about the technical side of things. I have here my A7R3 and the Konica Hexanon 50mm f1.4, set at f1.4. The way I shoot is I basically always take the camera to my eye. I practically never shoot from the hip. I think it's creepy. I think it makes you look weird. I think it's not serving your best interests as far as getting the image right. Because, and sure, yeah, I will pull open my screen like this and shoot basically from my chest looking down, but that's practically only when it suits my shot. It's never to be more stealthy. It's never to hide the fact that I'm taking pictures. I have no qualms with just taking the camera to my eye and focusing. Sure, I try not to be a dick about it and linger for longer than I have to in order to spook my subject. But other than that, I'm fully aware I'm doing nothing wrong, nothing illegal, nothing immoral, so there's nothing to hide. That out of the way I like to shoot is by almost imagining like I had a finger tab here on the focus tab of my lenses, focus ring. And a caveat here is it's important to have lenses that are either CLA'd and have really smooth focusing rings, or if not, do it yourself. But it's difficult to do that if your focus ring is stiff and bumpy and it's uneven. So get your lenses CLA'd and it will make a world of difference. And don't be a stickler about it. Get used to the idea that you're not always going to get the shot because you're shooting manual focus, yeah. Also, if you do get the shot, get used to the idea that you're not going to get it in as good of a focus that you might want. And that's all right, because as far as I'm concerned, focus is fourth on a list of priorities, and the first three are, in no particular order, lighting, composition, and subject or story or moment. Only then comes focus. If you have these three, even a blurry image will do if you have good lighting, good story, and good composition. So get your priorities straight. Get used to the fact that you're not always going to get good focus, and that's all right. Also, get used to the fact that it will take time and have patience because it will improve. I've been doing this for, what now, like 7 years, and it was tough at first. Lastly, one more thing as far as technique. Use the distance scale on your lens and ballpark, guesstimate the subject to your subject and pre-focus your lens there. And it will get you in the ballpark, and then you will only have to fine-tune your focus. There's really not much more to it. This has been it, I guess. I have been Radu. This has been 1,000 words. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I bid you farewell.